Hello EFD squad and welcome back to Continental Club, where we discuss the hottest topics in European football as selected by you, the beautiful audience at home. No Doogie today, he's back in Scotland, so the siren call of this seat on Continental Club has summoned me yet again. Joining me, two fine gentlemen to my left, Michael McShaggin and Joe Tomlinson. Right, starting with the first question from, you're not worth it, Ferezzo Goonsey. What do you guys make of the rumours of Arsene Wenger's return to management? Now, the Daily Mail, The Sun, both very credible sources, are reporting that former Arsenal manager Arsene Wenger could be nearing a return to management, gentlemen. I'm guessing this is where this question stems from, after Wenger and his staff got a £17 million layoff at Arsenal last year. So the papers claim that he's going to take up his role, even in the next month, so imminent. Wow. And he has offers from 4 different clubs on the table, one of them being Bayern Munich, PSG, Real Madrid and AC Milan. Sorry, that is all 4. So we'll discuss his credentials at those various clubs right now. Joe, you're going to kick us off with how we finished things at Arsenal, because maybe not enough there in that final year to suggest he's still got it to manage at the very top of club football.
Yeah, it was a year, I think it's fair to say. It was not good enough by his lofty standards that he set throughout his managerial career, but it was a slow death, wasn't it, at Arsenal, more than anything. It was like he was finally put out of his misery. I think they only won, or they lost 13 league games in his final season, which is the most he lost since 1994-5 season, which is just not good enough. And you can see through the seasons that slow and gradual decline. But I just wonder whether it was a tale of both him and Arsenal falling out of love with each other. And sometimes it's not easy to break the heart like that, is it? And I think if he was to get back into club management, he'd do a fine job, especially at a club that needs a slow transition out of an old set of stars into a new set of stars, or bringing through some emerging youth talent, which is what some of these options would give him. I think Real Madrid would probably suit Arsene Wenger pretty well. I think he could be in there and just smooth it over for a year, because to ask a young manager to come in and a tactically astute manager to come in and say, I'm going to play this philosophy, I'm going to have this group of players, is not easy at Madrid, because you've got a stack load of superstars. Most of them are nearing the twilight of their career, and a manager has to come in and almost oversee the transition between the last years of superstars and the first new years of a burgeoning group of them. And I think Arsene Wenger would do that quite nicely. He wouldn't smash it and win outrageous amounts of trophies, but he could oversee a transitional period.
So are you saying that he might only be a safe pair of hands at a top club then, as opposed to a viable long-term option?
Yeah, definitely.
Do you think he would take that?
Yeah, of course, at his age, 100%.
2-3 year contract?
At his age, he's not going to sign like a 4 or 5 year contract at a club.
So you think he'd do a fine job, but only as a stopgap?
Yeah, I think he'll come in at whatever club he goes to, barring maybe AC Milan, which you're talking about, and be a stopgap in the process. He could also do it at Bayern Munich very effectively, come in and oversee the transition, like at Real Madrid, from one group of superstars in the likes of Robben and Ribery into a young, talented group of players that he's going to get playing okay attacking football and smooth it out. So I think a Bayern Munich or Real Madrid is a nice fit for 18 months. 12 to 18 months, and then you look to bring in a new manager.
I think. Oh, go on, mate.
No, I was just going to say. I mean, I think that is kind of standard as well, isn't it? Right, like just a manager at his age, you don't really see many managers going into new jobs at the age that Arsene Wenger is now, expecting to be a long term.
Maybe Ranieri is probably the exception. Had to get special dispensation from Liga and didn't need to manage because he was post 70.
Yeah, for sure. But then even then, he was only at Knock for what, 2 seasons.
Neil Warnock.
He's not like a long-term, long-term options.
Neil Warnock's been kind of brought in to do a job at Cardiff.
Yeah,
but
I guess the question is, would Wenger be okay being, a temporary manager on a 6-month basis, or does he want a year to really,
I think he'd need
a year,
get his teeth into a new project? Is he looking to be just the stopgap at Real Madrid? And Real Madrid have been decent in recent weeks. Santiago Solari's kind of turned it round, hasn't he? 7 victories in his last 9. Only 1 defeat. I think at PSG it would be the role of sporting director. So they're not sure if Antero Henrique is staying on for the long term. And I think he'd be a sublime sporting director. I think that's perhaps what he should pursue next. And this is a guy whose style of management was extremely hands-on, wasn't it? He was omnipotent at Arsenal. There's interviews where he was saying management is a 7-day-a-week job, at least, to the style he'd become accustomed to. He was taking under 19 training, reserve training, overseeing dietary needs and everything when he came in at Arsenal. And I remember, I'm going through this book at the moment called The Club. I've referenced it on a few shows now, but just the impact he had on that club sort of financially as well, with the bank writing into their loan, the stipulation that he had to be there for another 5 years should they grant him the loan for the stadium. Like, he's not going to be that guy anymore, is it?
For sure, but I think that's kind of part of the problem Wenger has had with the kind of evolution of football.
That control.
Recently, and that's probably the reason why he wouldn't be able to hold down a long-term managerial position at a club as well, because he's not going to be able to have that kind of impact, is he? There's not a club out there necessarily, or at least there's not a club who wants him, who have the means of that kind of transformation. I mean, very few big, basically no big clubs in world football do now.
I'll run that way, yeah.
But I mean, that's why I think maybe AC Milan would be a good place for him to go, just because there's not that crazy expectation there that you would have at Bayern Munich, that you would have at PSG. Obviously, PSG is not necessarily going for the manager role, or Real Madrid. I think Real Madrid, if you've been dealing with, the likes of AFTV for the last few years, imagine going to Real Madrid where the fans are even more demanding.
Yeah.
I think AC Milan have obviously underachieved for a number of years. They need someone to come in actually and just consolidate themselves as a Champions League team. And Wenger, as we know, from his last 10 years at Arsenal, was expert at doing that, if not achieving a huge amount more, and especially on a limited budget as well. At AC Milan, he's got a decent budget. He's got a lot of young players. Obviously, the likes of Catrone, Kessié. Obviously, Piontek coming in, Paqueta coming in as well this January, and they're in need of a properly prestigious manager. Gattuso just, for me at least, just isn't that man.
Yeah, I think they've only won 3 of the last 10 games, right? So even though they're still kind of in the hunt for Champions League football, not been the most consistent of late, and he kind of is sort of treading a fine line, it seems to be, like, perpetually treading a fine line, doesn't he, Gattuso, between being a fan favourite and being not quite good enough to lead them back to the Champions League, maybe. Because Gasperini at Atlanta doing a fantastic job. You've got Inzaghi at Lazio, who's he is a better manager than Gattuso, and they're the guys that are really in the hunt for fourth after Juventus, Inter, and sort of Napoli, aren't they? So
So that and considering the amount of talent that AC Milan have been able to draw in now, and considering that financially they seem to be able to spend this kind of money now, then they should be easily in that fourth position. They just need the right manager, and I think Wenger at AC Milan would more likely last 2 or 3 years than
anywhere else.
Anywhere else.
I agree. I think that's the most likely destination for him, and probably for both parties the best destination. I completely agree. I think Real Madrid is a nice fit, but not a long-term option, and he might not get much time from the fans, although he would probably smooth it over. The same could be said of Bayern Munich. PSG, I don't think, is the right fit as sporting director. Personally, I'm not sure his philosophy aligns with Thomas Tuchel's philosophy of style of football particularly well.
Thomas Tuchel was quite resistant to having a sporting director at Dortmund.
It didn't
left on his contract.
I think it clashed a little bit. Yeah. They clashed a little bit. I'd be very surprised if he doesn't sign a new contract at PSG soon. I think like the fact he came in on a 2-year contract was to see whether he could gel with that squad, and it seems to be happening to a relative amount. So I would be surprised if it's not at least a year extension.
And now I could kind of see Jose Mourinho sniffing around that PSG
job. Apparently he's in talks with Inter Milan now.
Already?
Yeah.
Well, imagine Wenger versus Mourinho.
What's happened?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Wenger versus
Mourinho in the Milan derby.
That's so good.
Of course, there's that Gazidis connection as well at AC Milan, isn't there? I don't know what sort of terms they ended on at Arsenal, because
I think very good.
At times they supposedly had a fractious relationship, but I think Gazidis still ranks him very highly, doesn't it? And the actual job that he did at Arsenal, when you go back historically, there is some parallels with this current AC Milan setup, isn't there? In that, I suppose they're now coming for a period where they've had to be quite lean in their spending. They're now spending sort of big again, like he did when he first arrived at Arsenal. and maybe expectations have gone up a level as a result. And sort of, I don't know, was it George Graham pre-Wenger at Arsenal? He'd lost the ability to win a league title, hadn't he? So, maybe I think Wenger would definitely find the AC Milan project more appealing than being a stopgap. Is there anything else we can add to this conversation? I think Bayern Munich is surely going to stick with Kovac as opposed to bringing in Wenger in.
It's pretty amazing though that Wenger, despite the difficulties of the last few years, has been linked with 4 jobs that are this big. Like that is pretty amazing considering, say, like Mourinho now. Like you can't really see, you're talking about Inter Milan, but you really, I don't know if I could see him like actually going to like a Bayern Munich or.
I think
PSG,
I think for me the only other option for Jose is I've just got visions of a Real Madrid return.
Oh, we're going Wenger or Jose?
Sorry, I was talking about
Jose.
Jose. Yeah, I feel like Jose to Madrid will always be hanging over the air because of his fantastic relationship with Perez.
How did
be a weird one?
How did the sort of fans? How did he end his period at Real Madrid? Sort of with the fans, were they
not too sure,
becoming disgruntled with his brand of football? No,
I don't know, but the fans get pretty pissed off with everything eventually at Real Madrid, don't they? The white hankies come out pretty early doors.
I mean, if you need a break from football, which a lot of people have been saying that Jose Mourinho needs, then Real Madrid maybe not the best.
I think the other option for Arsene is international football, which for me would suit Arsene Wenger quite nicely. Like, I would love to see Arsene Wenger in charge of the French national team, but I just don't see Didier Deschamps giving up that post anytime soon, which I think is a bit of a shame because Arsene Wenger in charge of some of those young stars would be great, and they play some lovely football.
Do you think Do you think there's enough like contact time though in those kind of jobs to appeal to him though? Like,
that's a very good question.
I don't know. Like, obviously none of us can speak for Wenger, but he does love the day to day. But does he still love the day to day at his age? Like, he must have thought now, having 6 months off, like, oh, this is bloody nice, just sitting by the pool and not having to do everything.
I mean, I hope he is enjoying it. I do hope he is enjoying the time off, but I don't know.
Yeah, he definitely deserves it. But at international level, I mean, a lot of sort of old Dutch, German managers have gone out to Africa, the Ivory Coast, Ghana, and had great degrees of success there in terms of like bringing a fresh philosophy, perspective. Like, I'd like to see him at sort of an emerging nation, whether that be South America, whether that be Africa, and sort of maybe bring them forward in terms of being able to compete on the international stage. That'd be really interesting, wouldn't it?
Yeah,
could you think any nations that would be well suited to? Yes,
so
I mean, he speaks 6 languages.
Yeah,
so
like obviously he spent time in Japan before, and Japan are a pretty exciting international team.
I think he rejected the job actually
really?
at Japan. Yeah, I think
okay.
either at Japan or at a Japanese side. I think he rejected the managerial job very recently.
Oh, well,
yeah, I mean, they had an awful World Cup, so he'd definitely be welcome now, I'm imagining, but you're saying he's turning it down. Interesting. Where do you think Arsene Wenger should go, guys? Let us know in the comments below. Moving on to the big match preview. So we move on to our big match preview, and a big match it is as well. Atletico Madrid versus Real Madrid Saturday, 3:15. And Real Madrid actually have a chance to go second in the league for the first time since September if they beat their city rivals, who have been in pretty decent form themselves, winning 6 of their previous 7 games, drawing just the 1, scoring 14 goals and only conceding 3 in all competitions, McCubbin. The defence is back to being its mean self after a stuttering start. Still struggling for goals a little bit though. One man saving them.
Yeah, Griezmann, and obviously that record came up until last weekend. They lost 1-0 to Betis. Then, and they deservedly so as well. I think the XG was something like 1 to 0.5, so not great, although Betis have been in pretty good form this season as well. Yeah, it's not in front of. I mean, first of all, it's great that they're defensively solid again. Obviously, that's kind of hallmark of this Simeone side, isn't it? And I expect if they'd had that same solidity back in kind of September, October, November, they would be properly battling Barca for that title, wouldn't they? As it stands, not so much. But yeah, Griezmann, 53% of all their goals have come from Griezmann, either from an assist or a goal from Griezmann.
That's a joke.
Got 10 league goals, 7 assists. So after a relatively quiet start to the season, he has really kicked on in fantastic form. And now he's got a new strike partner in Morata as well. And I think that should bode well in the future. Morata had a okay game against Betis, actually. I think he completed 5 dribbles, won 6 aerial duels, 3 tackles and interceptions. So a very all-action centre-forwards performance from him. Only put 1 shot on target from his 4 shots. But the fact that he had 4 shots in general, that probably bodes well as well. The one worry is that there doesn't seem to be necessarily the delivery in the Atleti squad, apart from Griezmann, for him to thrive, considering his aerial ability, obviously. I think Thomas Partey is the only player other than Griezmann to have got more than 2 league assists this season.
That is a
3.
disgrace.
So you're kind of wondering how they're going to make the most of him. But I do think in general that Morata and Griezmann should, as a strike force, be pretty good. I feel like their skill sets complement each other. That's the word. Don't know how I didn't get that one out. But yeah, like obviously Morata, fantastic dribbler like Griezmann. Griezmann more of a creator, I guess. But yeah, I feel like once Morata's kind of fully embedded himself in this side over the next month or so, we probably will see better things.
Yeah, Griezmann's had a sort of ageing Diego Costa playing next to him, whose knees are shot to bits. He's been absolutely riddled with injuries since he's been there. So you can see why Atletico Madrid were keen to get in someone with a little bit more mobility in Morata, despite the, like you said, not great for his confidence that he's coming into a side shy of goals, and they've only got 32 league goals. So that's 4 fewer than Sevilla at the time of writing, which is a little bit surprising given the prowess of their forwards. Maybe double check that. 5 fewer than Real Madrid and 28 fewer than Barcelona, who, I mean, Messi's having another one of those seasons where he defies Father Time, isn't he? Real Madrid in the ascendancy though, Joe. So I mean, 2 or 3 months ago, he said Atletico Madrid at home, potentially comfortable victory, given the disarray that Real Madrid were in. But Solari turning it round, turning a corner?
Yeah, I mean, they've won 7 of their last 9, haven't they? The only loss in there was a second leg of a Copa del Rey round of 16. They won the first leg 3-0, so the second leg was a pretty much write-off. Don't need to care too much. And then obviously the draw against Barcelona, in which I thought they were all right. To get a point away at the Nou Camp's not too bad. And they had some exciting players in that game. I thought Vinicius Jr.
He's killing it.
He did a really good job for such a young man out on that wide area, and was heavily involved for the goal as well. So it's nice to see him firing. Obviously, Gareth Bale stuttering again with his injury, just can't put together a whole season, can he? I think he's made about 22 appearances so far this season, has been involved in 12 goals in those 22 appearances. So not terrible, but just a classic Gareth Bale season, playing about 50% of the games. Not really the superstar they need to replace the Cristiano Ronaldo statistical output he was throwing at Real Madrid, and they still haven't done.
He's been having 7 shots a game.
Yeah, well, he's trying his best, Vinicius, but he's still a long way off a Cristiano Ronaldo player. He's still extremely raw, and you can tell that in his game. But what you would say is, I've been really surprised about Vinicius, is his defensive work is really good, and he is making up for a lot of Marcelo mistakes, and this is definitely not been one of Marcelo's better seasons, and the talk continues, doesn't it, as to whether he's still going to be at the club next season. I wouldn't be surprised at all if they cut their losses on Marcelo in the summer and look to move him on while they can still get a fee.
I mean, Solari has been very keen to progress people from Castilla. Of course, he was the manager there, so he's kind of got that the same relationship with personnel in Castilla that Pep Guardiola had when he transitioned that Barcelona squad in 2008.
Yeah, and you look at Marcelo, and there's obvious options for me for where he could end up. I think Juventus is a obvious, clear choice for a player like Marcelo in the twilight of his career. He knows he's probably going to get an extra 2 to 3 years just by being in and around a club like Juventus with their excellent record of keeping veterans going over the years. I also think he's not the worst option, Marcelo, for Manchester City. I look at Man City and I think they need left-back cover there. They pushed heavily for Dani Alves when Dani Alves became available at Barcelona. Didn't get that deal done. Of course, he ended up at Juventus, didn't he? But I still think Marcelo has maybe not 40 games a season, but has 20 good games in him a season, and that's all you need for Man City. We know that Benjamin Mendy has struggled consistently with injuries since he's arrived. He can't play 60 games a season with that dodgy left knee he's got. Bring Marcelo in for 20 million? Get 2 years out of him while you look to transition either another young left back in or buy a future star that's going to replace Benjamin Mendy altogether. And I just think he comes in as great European experience, able to come into the dressing room, and maybe that is something they've missed a little bit on European nights. I think we can all agree over the last 2 to 3 years they've been the best team or one of the best teams in Europe, but haven't shown it in the Champions League. And I think Marcelo will come in with a lot of experience, be a great backup for a player like Benjamin Mendy, and wouldn't cost the 60, 70 million that you're looking at of getting an outstanding left back right now. I think he's a good option for City or Juventus, and I'd struggle to see him at Real Madrid in the summer. But equally, in this game, I still think Madrid are going to win. Real Madrid, that is.
Potentially, so scores at the doors then?
I'll go for 2-1 to Real.
I'm going to say 2-0 Real, actually. I reckon that'll do it.
I'm going to go all 1-0 Real Madrid, a closely fought encounter. And I wonder, just sprang to mind then, if they've got a recall option on Hakimi, who's playing out of his skin.
He's got another year left on that loan, hasn't he?
Yeah, so I wonder if they've got a recall option after a year.
Yeah, maybe.
Because a 2-year loan deal, pretty heavy for a guy of his potential. We've also got some, is Valverde still at Alaves? Got Fibas, I think they've got Ruiz as well in the reserve. So there's a lot of good young talent coming through at the moment. I think Hermoso slipped through the net, then he went to Espanyol. But yeah, a lot of kind of young defensive options that Solari can call upon. Guys, would you let Marcelo go at the end of this year if you were Real Madrid coach? Who do you think is going to beat, who do you think is going to win, out of Atletico and Real Madrid? Let us know in the comments below. Moving on to Quickfire Questions. Starting us off then in Quickfire Questions, it's Meef98, regular contributor, and he's asked, what was your favourite UCL performance from a player, Michael? Lay it out.
There's been a few, haven't there? Especially in finals and semi-finals. But one that does stick in my mind, Neymar versus PSG, Barcelona, PSG, 6-1.
Ridiculous.
Yes.
It was just crazy. I mean, I wouldn't be able to recall the stats from that game, but in the last 20 minutes, it was one of those rare performances where you're literally seeing one player just carry an entire side and just help them do the impossible.
Yeah.
You know, like... It's just I remember discussing it with my mate after the game, and he's a Liverpool fan, and he was saying to me that's how he used to feel about Gerrard with Liverpool over a number of years, that he would just kind of take the ball and just drive the team for like half an hour if they needed a result. And Neymar definitely did that, didn't he? It was just like PSG became ridiculously defensive in those last 20 minutes. Kind of stupid, really. And every time they cleared the ball, it seemed to be Neymar who was picking it up on the halfway line and then just kind of running back. Just running back at the defence, putting balls into the box. Obviously, he had that fantastic free kick as well, and then obviously set up Sergio Roberto for the winner. But I just remember you just kind of looked in his eyes, and he was so determined. You know, in a game where Messi was being completely man-marked out of the game, he was so determined to get that win. And it was just funny that he kind of, a few months later decided to go to PSG. But yeah, that really sticks in my mind. That was a man possessed.
2 moments of pure genius that really, I think few players in world football would have that arrogance or genius to one, instead of crossing that ball, shoot from that free kick, because it was quite wide out.
It was,
to the left, wasn't
outrageous.
It? You whipped it into the top, keeper's top right, and then that ball over the top for Sergio Roberto with his weak foot, left foot, just sort of chipped it back in, didn't he? Rather than trying to work it out wide, I guess. Yeah, crazy. It's a great shout, Joseph.
I've got a couple that spring to mind. I think you mentioned him there, Steven Gerrard in Istanbul, effectively turning the whole game on its head single-handedly, is right up there. Keane against Juventus in the semi-final of '99, pretty high on the agenda. And also, I think you can't forget how, like, Lionel Messi doesn't get included in the conversation because he does it too often. The amount of times that Messi has single-handedly won Barcelona games at important moments in the Champions League is ridiculous. There's also Cristiano Ronaldo's hat-trick against Juventus. Was it against Juventus or Bayern Munich? Bayern Munich, I think it was. That was pretty incredible. But yeah, Lionel Messi's just done it so many times. You mentioned the Boateng one there, that he's almost forgotten about, like, Keane's done it, Neymar did it. Messi's done it like 10 times. So probably one of those.
Scott Brown against Hapoel Beersheva from Israel in the Europa League qualifier. Next.
Yeah, the Champions League question, but
so I've just
Maverick, mate.
Blade Thunderbolt has asked, who's the best impact player, brackets non-starter, in Europe?
Tough one, this, because there aren't actually that many super subs, I don't think. I think Man City probably have some of the best attacking depth. You look at like being able to bring on Leroy Sané is a pretty frightening prospect.
Or
Riyad Mahrez. I actually think one of the best impact players in terms of rotation this year has been Xherdan Shaqiri. He's got some really important goals at some really big moments for Liverpool, and he might not technically be the best, but in terms of singular moments of impact for a rotation player, I think he has probably been it for me.
Yeah. Good shout.
Yeah, I mean, if Liverpool do go on and win the title from now, Shaqiri will be the signing that's talked about almost more than anyone. Maybe apart from Alisson, but like in terms of just that kind of player was brought in and came up in
like the winners against Manchester United, for instance.
And I feel like he's had another at least one winning goal.
I think he's scored 7 or 8 goals now.
Pretty amazing. That's a hard one to beat. I'd say United. Martial is a very good option off the bench. Him and Rashford have both made good impacts over the last couple of years coming off the bench. But apart from that, nothing like sticks in my mind. Like Giroud was a very good impact sub, wasn't he, for Arsenal and then Chelsea, but he's got a little bit more quiet now. In Europe,
I'm really struggling in Europe.
Sure,
like you look at PSG, it's a very settled front line. They don't really transition out of it. The Real Madrid.
Yeah, I suppose you've got Bernardeschi for Juventus. He's been good when he's come on. The ball has been benched more than his ability would suggest that he should be. Who else? It's Napoli maybe. They rotate a little bit more than they used to, don't they? Under Ancelotti now, so. I mean, Alcacer, Paco, Jesus.
Paco, Jesus Christ. Obviously Paco. It had to be Paco.
Done and dusted,
yeah.
Isn't it? But I mean, Zielinks, he doesn't really get a game at Napoli, does he? Doesn't get a lot of starts, at least last time I checked. I suppose Milik's been killing it this season, but I'm not sure how he's kind of how they line up on a consistent basis actually. So at least one of those big talents has to lose out. Callahan and Insigne. Is it a bit more of a 4-4-2 these days at Napoli?
I think they've still got three up front, or 4-2-3-1. But sorry, Paco just came into my mind.
Paco, I think Paco's the emphatic answer to that question, isn't he? One last one then. So let's go to Jose Benavides, 23. Do you think countries like Spain and England should get an extra Champions League spot, or do you think it takes too much away from the smaller leagues?
No.
Michael?
Yeah, nah. 4's enough, isn't it? Let's face it. The smaller leagues are already missing out on enough Champions League football as it is. Because how many countries now do get 4? It's Italy, Germany, Spain, and England, where it used to be just 3, didn't it?
Because the smaller nations used to have the Champions route. That was pretty much was easier to qualify.
At least automatically, right?
Yeah. Automatically, if you finished as champion in your respective league, but that's not the case now. Like Celtic have to go through 4 qualifying rounds.
No, that's nuts.
Yeah,
that's nuts.
But I mean, Italy have got a guarantee. Did you just say that? Sorry.
Yeah,
Italy, Germany, Spain, England. Yeah.
I mean,
and it used to be that in England you had to finish in the top 2 to get automatic qualifications to groups, and now it's 3. So yeah, I think England and Spain get a pretty good deal.
Fine.
Especially considering that like it could be Alaves in Spain, getting
automatic Champions League players.
So
I think we'd all like to see a little bit more variety in the last 16, wouldn't we? Which wouldn't lend itself to giving England or Spain an extra Champions League spot. I also think like teams in the Eredivisie have to. There's a 2-legged qualification process for the final Europa League spot. Like it's ridiculous. These prestigious leagues. I don't know what the rate is in Portugal off the top of my head, but with some top teams in there, finding it harder to get to the riches, the promised lands on the Champions League, and it's not great for the equality of the game, is it? There's like 16 clubs now that are just financially so much further ahead than the others, and Europe definitely helps in that regard. I think 70 mil participating in the last 16 of the Champions League.
It's mad, isn't it?
And considering like how poor Premier League teams were in the Champions League following Chelsea's 2012 win. I think Man City are the only. Well, I guess until last year, Liverpool getting to the final and Man City were reaching the semis in 2016. Apart from that, English teams were god awful in Europe for a number of years. We just about survived it. So obviously,
should be chuffed with 4 at the moment.
We should. I mean, we should be to an extent. Obviously, the last couple of years, the quality in the Premier League has gone up massively with the big teams, but. Yeah, we survived that blip pretty well. The
coefficient's stupid, isn't it? Spain are so far ahead and away of anyone else, and then I think England might have just overtaken Germany in recent times, owing to like Liverpool.
And also, I think English teams have been to a European final 3 years on the bounce now.
Europa League as well.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah.
So, and then the drop off from the Bundesliga to the French league is quite extensive as well.
That doesn't surprise me, though.
Yeah. So I mean, I think the French league are about only just retaining their sort of Champions League places, aren't they? Do they have to qualify in the 4th spot? Yeah, they do, don't they?
They don't even get a 4th. It's just the top 3 in France.
Top 3. No one from the Coupe de France or the Coupe de Ligue.
I don't think so. So I'm assuming in France it would be top 2 automatic, and 3rd place has to go through 3rd qualifying round. I think.
Every day's a school day.
Yeah,
Fair play. Guys, what do you think to that? Vote in the poll above. Do England and Spain deserve another Champions League spot? I hope it's an overwhelming no, to be honest. And that's all from us on Continental Club this week. Gentlemen, where else can the people catch your lovely faces on Football Daily and Euro Football Daily this week?
We've got We Need to Talk over on Football Daily right now. That probably would have gone live about the same time as this, so if you haven't already, go and check that out.
I can't remember what I've been on this week, to be honest. But go to FDFC, go and check out the latest sevens, go check out the latest squad goals. Go out, check out the latest non-league vlogs if you haven't seen it as well. I think that's about it, really. Yeah.
Crushing it on non-league vlogs, aren't you?
Yeah,
50,
decent
60k last couple of episodes. So if you're not watching it, you know, you're in the what's it called? The minority is the word I was looking for. Bye.